Hey everybody, Dr. Ray here, and today we are talking about job application documents and requirements in addition to your resume. So the other day, I was sent this job application. It was for a university, and they were, in addition to the resume, they were asking for 7 different pieces of documentation. 7 different pieces. So that's things like letters of reference, cover letter, research statement, teaching statement, diversity statement, all kinds of different things that they were asking for from one person. Now, the person that sent this to me sent it to me to vent and say, I can't believe that they're asking for all of this stuff. Now, let's talk about what the problems are with some of this stuff, why this is an issue, and what can we do to get around it? Because some of the stuff is important, but there are other ways to get the information. So let's talk about that. So here are the problems with it. First problem number 1. Okay, so the first problem is that you lose all of your, when you ask for all these things, you've lost all your casual applicants. You've lost all the people out there that aren't really looking for a job, but maybe they'd be the best candidate for you, but they don't have it might take me like a day or two to literally write all that stuff. They might not have that time. I mean, it's just not worth it for them. They're like, well, I have a job. I like where I am. That seems like a good position, but it's not worth me applying. Like, I can't even apply. I can't do it. That's way too much. So you lose all your casual applicants, all the people that maybe are good, but just have a job and they don't need to work there. All right. Next thing that you do, you lose all the applicants who don't have the time to actually apply to your job. There are applicants out there that could be working 2 or 3 jobs, especially like we're talking about the students graduating, like they might be working like 2 or 3 jobs to pay bills. They might have to take care of children or family members or elderly. Like, you don't know what their situation is. Like, if we're talking about like it takes me a day or 2 to write like all the documents you're requiring, someone might not actually have the time to do that. So you're in a way, you're discriminating against someone that doesn't have the time to apply for your position because you asked for all this stuff in addition to a resume. All right. The third issue with all of this stuff is that there's tons of services out there that are writing this stuff for people. So I can just buy all these required documents, or I can pay someone to write them for me, or I can pay someone just to help me write them. So if you're using these documents to hire someone, you might be looking and saying, wow, this person's a really great writer. Look how they wrote this. Look how they did this. Look at their portfolio pieces that they developed. And guess what? They paid for all of them. They didn't even do it themselves. It's pay to play, right? Like, you're literally might be choosing to interview the person who had the most amount of money. So in a way, you're discriminating against people that aren't financially well off enough to apply to your position. So those are those are the 3 big problems you've got with this. You lose your casual applicants. You lose the people that don't have the time to apply. You lose the people that might not have the financial means that create the best materials. All right, you lost them. Now, that's not to say these pieces of information aren't important. Like, the reason you have all these things is because you value them, right? You think that the cover letter is important, the portfolio, the research, all that stuff's important, right? You want to know this stuff about the person. So here are my suggestions to you. Ask them once they're in the interview process for it. That means they at least know, like, they're in the running. Like, just imagine spending a full day applying for a position to not even make the interview. So once the person becomes a candidate that you're serious about, you're bringing in, maybe even like after your phone, like you're bringing them in, say, hey, you even just ask them, like, what's talk to me about your research. That's it. Or whatever it happens to be. Hey, we're going to need some sample work pieces. You're in our final candidate list. Can we have some sample work pieces to see your portfolio? That's when it's more appropriate for someone to spend the time getting that stuff to you, or just ask them outright during the interview. They don't even need to write it. They don't need to waste their time writing it, right? Like, just ask them. Or if you need them to write it, have them do it when they're a serious candidate. All right, so that's how you solve it. It's really simple. It's just not worth people time. If there's 200 people that apply to a job, you're going to interview like 8 of them. Why do the other, 192 people need to spend a day or two of their time applying for just one position? That's what's crazy, just your one position. Because the thing is, you can't always reuse all that stuff. It's not like they're going to write it and they're going to reuse it. No, it doesn't always work like that. And it has to be tailored to your company and stuff if they really want to do it well. So it is for your one position. Even if I can reuse some of the pieces of it, still for your one position. The other thing I'm going to warn companies and tell you, put your salary requirements on the job, because if I'm developing all these materials and going for the interview process just to get an offer for something that's completely out of reality for me is a huge waste of time for all of us. So do that right. Give the job salary requirement. All right. Got it? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to people, because I'm getting really frustrated by all the additional requirements I keep seeing on job applications when the resume should be good enough to start the interview process. All right, later all.